Go on then,
That's
Ricky.
where we're going.
You can do the Welcome to Monday Club today if you want.
Okay. Welcome to Monday Club, everybody. Nice to have you. Nah, I'm terrible. Someone else could do the intro. I'll guide the conversation, but my intros are lame. If what we do, we get Sam to do it because every time he does it, he forgets the guest's last name, and it's hilarious.
All right, sweet.
If we got Nick Bundy, for fuck's sake, how do you forget Nick Bundy? He went Nick Bundy.
Do you know what I was thinking
Nick
about
Bundy
saying?
YouTube.
YouTube.
What Nick Bundy YouTube? That's not even the name of his fucking channel.
By the way, what I didn't realise what he'd done at the time, which I realised when I listened back, is he does this little thing like he's like a 12-year-old schoolboy. He went, "Yeah, Nick Bundy." Thinks he's up, he's not.
Hello and welcome. It's the Electricians Guide to Everything, Monday Club. In the house today, we've got Neil Longhead Bridgman, Mark Forehead Allison, Kubla Khan, Stuart Cato, and the man they call the Gatecrasher, Spencer Henry.
Welcome.
Hello, good evening.
Come on, that was a decent intro.
That was not bad. I see you looking to one side to check the second names.
Yeah, probably. I'm too busy looking at myself than trying to do an intro, to be honest with you.
I feel like, once you've done the intro, it's got to lead somewhere. It's like intro done, that's it, conversation over. We're not going nowhere with that.
Well, can't help it.
We've got some topics tonight. And we've got some stories, which we've got a Twitter topic, which I started a poll on yesterday, which we'll go into a little bit. Last time I checked, it was split 60-40, which is actually slightly worrying to me.
Why?
Yes, I know where you're going with this now. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. You only got to look at what we'll go into this in a minute, but you only got to look about how it went off in our little internal WhatsApp group. But it's not really clear cut, is it?
Yeah, but it should be 100% yes.
No, it's nonsense.
No, it's not. It's not.
Stuart and Spencer, have you got any idea what we are talking about?
Not a clue what's going on here at the moment, mate.
Right, okay, so I started a Twitter poll. I could have worded it slightly better, to be fair, but I thought I'd worm out the idiots to start with.
I'm out.
So, metal-clad back box with a fixed lug. Do you stick a CPC to the back box? Is the way I worded it, but obviously what I'm really talking about is, do we fly lead galvanised back boxes recessed into the wall?
With a fixed lug?
With a fixed lug.
No.
You don't do it?
And your letters back.
No, we're not talking about regulations here. Do you do it or not?
Well, last time I installed one was many moons ago, but back box has got a fixed lug. If it's part of the mechanical installation, so you've got nothing else in between. No.
Okay.
It's in guidance note 8, isn't it, that you don't have to do it?
It is.
But some accessories only have the earth eyelet on one side of them, as well as certain light switches, or they used to. I think they probably don't anymore, but you would only find the earth eyelet on one side, so you have to make sure that aligned with the fixed lug side. But still, I've always run a fly lead back to a back box.
So
that's how I was taught, so that's how I always do it.
Mark, have you been bee stung again?
No.
So I'm going to move this on. Stuart, where do you sit with that? Do you stick a fly lead to the gav back box?
We always stick fly lids in.
Yeah.
I think just because we've had some sockets actually in the past, some cheap sockets, and they come with white plastic screws because they wanted white finishes. And also, if you're putting in brass screws, you've got reaction of dissimilar metals. You know, you could have all sorts of problems there. So, for the sake of 30 seconds, put the lead in.
Yeah. Sam?
Well,
just do what you're told. You pretty much said that, didn't you?
Yeah.
If you go onto a site, you just do what they tell you to do.
Yes.
Neil?
I would always stick a fly lead in. I think it shows best practice, but the more I think about it...
I'll tell you what.
I'm going to call you out on that.
I'm going to call you out on that. See that one behind you right now? Show me what's in that one behind you right now.
This one here?
Yeah.
Surface.
No, because I'm not going to do safe isolation.
Bottled. There's no way you've done it. No way.
I think I probably have.
This came about because Peter Carter, PC products.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Beadmaster and all that.
that's it. Beadmaster. Everyone know about the Beadmaster?
Yep.
Yeah, so you screw it into a box, you skim over the top, but there's no earth to the back box then, is there? And you've got potential live behind that in Wagos or whatever. So he's recommended if you're using his products, you have to earth the back box. But a lot of people don't. So I thought when I'd done this, I was pretty confident that everyone, although your guidance notes say you don't have to, and I'm sure there's regulations about it somewhere that I'm not going to get into, I thought most people just would. Because why wouldn't you? It don't make sense. It's there, isn't it? Why would you not do it? Actually, yeah, I think
it's liven up that circuits without any accessories on.
Say that again, sorry.
Why do you need to liven up an accessory with no? Why do you need to liven up a circuit with no accessory on?
You could be plastering one bedroom and you've got the whole upstairs ring off, but you don't need to. You can use them PC Beadmaster products.
So do these beads have the correct IP rating to form a protective barrier to live terminals?
IP54.
Yes, but obviously the screws are going into the box.
How do you know that?
Watched his video today.
Yeah, I've actually got a box. I think I'll go and have a look in a little while. But yeah, it's the screws. Obviously, the screws are going into the back box, and then you're potentially skimming wet over the top of them, and then there's no earth to that. So it was a conversation, but I didn't think it'd be that much of a bigger deal. But apparently, a lot of people just don't bother.
I don't think I would. If I had to think about it, what is the chance of shock doing that?
Well, the conversation is, if you take the socket front off live, then the back box hasn't got an earth. But then you shouldn't be taking it off live in the first place. And it goes round and round in circles. I just think, for the sake of it, it's a bit of 1.5 single, isn't it? Cut a load up, stick them in your box. A drum of 100 meters 1.5 single will cost, I don't know, 20 quid, and just have them ready to go.
Well, like tenner, I think.
I think it's safe to agree, though. I mean, it's not necessarily required, but certainly it's a best practice thing.
Yeah, absolutely right. It's not necessarily required, but why wouldn't you?
Because it's not necessarily required.
Yeah, but I think
the problem is people are lazy, and if there's a regulation that says they don't have to do it, they don't do it.
Yeah, it's the same as what we say with bathroom lights, isn't it? You can stick a pendant in a bathroom as long as it's outside the zones. Would you? Would you do that?
No.
I don't think a pendant's suitable for the environment. I was always told you'd have to have a bayonet fitting with a skirt on
outside of the zones, though, isn't it? So
yeah, I know, but it's about suitability for the environment as well. And do you know the bayonet caps with a skirt, which does that sort of 45-degree out, which keeps the water and condensation away from the live terminals?
That's got to be like quite old school.
It probably is.
People ain't sticking them in now, are they?
No, but you used to have the bayonet cap. You used to have it used to be called a skirt because it's shaped like a skirt to take the condensation away from the light bulb. Obviously, pendants don't have that. So I would argue that regardless of the IP, regardless of the zone, they're not suitable for that environment because they're not designed to be installed in that environment.
That's fair. But
I've just realised Mark doesn't have the longest forehead in the room today. It's Spencer. That's my input to that conversation.
God forbid we ever try and talk sense on this show. God forbid.
But I started thinking about this earlier. What's the difference then, to why don't we earth a beezer box lid on subsurface conduit? We don't earth consumer units that are flush mounted. They're front plates. These are all things we do not earth separately to the main body, but we get this fascination over a socket or a switch. And I only started going down this road
because
in my head.
It's there, isn't it? Everything's there. You only need to stick the cable in.
Years ago, remember people were doing some ridiculous things like earthing metal window frames.
16th edition specials.
Before RCDs, get rid of that cable
crazy,
quick.
didn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, you'd have it on like every pipe to a radiator, wouldn't you? Every tap and the sink and the bath basin.
Little curly tails everywhere.
Yeah, which you're not allowed to do now, apparently.
I will never
curly
understand
tails.
why people always wanted to put these little curly tails on. What exactly did they perform as a function?
I think it was to look nice. I was taught like that. I was taught to get a screwdriver and get the earth and wrap it around the screwdriver and take it off, and there's your cross bonding.
Yeah. No, I was told to do it as an apprentice. I was told to do it as well.
I'm pretty confident. They say don't do pigtails now, aren't they? Don't do pigtails. Stay away from them. Do them straight. There's something somewhere that says about pigtails. I don't know where.
I think it's just... I just think all this is just over the top nonsense, isn't it? It's over the top. Why? Why do you need to do all that? Listen, what is the chance of
what are you talking about now? Need to do what? Because you've just gone onto a spiral of what you're saying.
Well, the pigtails for one, then earth in the back box. What, like that back box? Why would you do that? It's so over the top. What is a risk? What is the risk? It's so negligible that it's not even worth discussing, in my opinion. That's the end of the conversation.
I think sort of the logic is there. What you're saying is it's not exposed for a start. It is conductive. It could become live under fault conditions, but it's not exposed, so it doesn't meet the threshold to require.
So I'm just going to stick your finger through the plasterboard and then touch it if it might be live, is it?
If anyone was going to, I feel like it'd be you.
I have a thing. If there's a terminal for an earth cable, I like to put an earth to it. Just annoys me.
Show us the one on your wall right now.
I can't. I ain't got a safe isolation kit in the garage.
You don't need to safe isolate it just to pull it off and show us, do you?
I'm going to get screwdrivers. It's a long thing, isn't it?
Yeah, but then you could go into a whole realm of that's Gav conduit, isn't it? You could say, I earthed the conduit system's earthed, so I don't need a CPC.
That's the point, actually. 100% is earthed because that is where the conduit's getting its earth from. Because it's only a conduit drop. It's not continuous back to the
there you
fuse board.
go then. Bing, bang, bong. Job done. Moving on. Stories this week.
One thing I want to go on what you said there. Who, and what Stuart said,
yes.
Who in this room, in all their years, and we've got a lot of years of experience here, has ever noticed an issue with dissimilar metals? Ever. Oh, fuck's sake.
There's always one.
It's the job, though, isn't it? It's the job that he does. Clerk of Works.
Go on then, tell us the story of your dissimilar metals, because I've never seen anything.
You see it predominantly in really old installations. Cathodic, galvanic tables. You can always get this idea of corrosion. So it's why they do sacrificial anodes on yachts and things like that. Same principle just happens faster in that situation. So you got an old. How many times have you come across an old MEM board or something like that? Really, really old one. And you take off the bush or a gland or something like that, and you can see around the edge. You can see the corrosion starting to happen.
I suppose you might be right, actually.
It's really slow. It's really slow. It's not really evident straight away, but over many, many years, yeah.
And then what happens?
The evidence of that sort of thing happening.
But then what happens?
Well, it corrodes. It's rusty. Yeah.
Then we change the board.
That worst case scenario, your glands and things become loose, and if you're relying upon that for your earthing, then obviously you can't rely upon your earth connection. You might see.
Only they'd fitted a fly lead.
They're fitting a fly lead to that damn gland. Yeah.
So, Stuart, tell us about your week last week. What's been going on in your world?
Of course, we had quite a nice week last week. We're finishing off a nice build, just putting up lights and TVs and stuff. So it's quite easy, really. Although they're little fiddly lights with about 60 metal little roses on them, a pain in the arse, but we got them up. And yes, mate.
What? Like, I don't know anything about you. I've seen Cato come up a few times on LinkedIn.
God forbid you was telling a story there, Stuart. Sam's not entertained with that. We'll just interrupt.
But I don't know who the geezer is. I'm asking who he is.
You introduced
him.
I've watched
enough of these yet to...
Let's find out a little bit about Mr. Cato. I don't really know who he is. Mr. Cato, please, drop some knowledge.
Well, what do you want to know? Do you want to know from the start?
Yeah, go on.
It's only an hour long,
my mum and dad got together. And, no, I learned to be a sparky in the army. Did about 6 years in the army, going all over the world, and then left and set up my own business, and sort of joined the bandwagon of PV and EV and smart homes and all the sort of upcoming technologies, and yeah, and we go from there. Really,
smashing it.
Yeah.
How has the EV world progressed over the last sort of since you've been out of the army in the UK? Have you seen like an upward surge?
Yeah, to be honest, what, PV or EV?
Sorry, PV. Apologies.
PV. Yeah, so we got on PV about 10 years ago, and sort of enjoyed the good times of the feed-in tariff, and we've seen the ups and downs, but because it was just a sideline, we didn't rely on it, and we took jobs when we could, but it's coming back again. I don't really know don't know what's going to happen. They're trying to bring in the SEG, but we'll see.
What's the SEG?
Don't you know, Sam?
No, don't be silly.
No,
don't confuse him with an electrician. He's like the resident plumber.
Hang on. I'm going to push back a bit here for Sam. How many of you other 5 fuckers know what SEG means?
Yeah, but how many admitted it?
Fair point.
Okay, so the SEG was something they tried to bring in to replace the feed-in tariff, and it's where they'll pay you to export electricity.
Is that prosumer?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Buzzword. So my understanding is, forgive me if I'm wrong, Octopus are the only current energy provider providing that SEG at the moment. Is that correct?
No, all companies over, I think it's about 25,000 customers have to provide an SEG, but they can set their levels. So they could turn around and say, well, we'll pay you 0.01p per unit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. So I'll reword it. Are Octopus the only one offering anything half decent out there? It's worth going on to?
No, I think there's 3 or 4 that are offering around 4p, 5p, something like that.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I used to know this guy at the gym I used to work at, and he was selling solar panels back when the feed-in tariff was a thing. And he was making so much money selling solar panels off the back of the feed-in tariff, because essentially they paid for themselves within about, 7 or 8 years, didn't they, from the feed-in tariff? And it was a massive, massive market. And then all of a sudden they slashed it in half, and then they slashed it in half again, and then it wasn't worth it, and the bottom fell out. Is that the same story as you?
Sort of, yeah. We did a lot of work when the tariff was good. And actually, we picked up a lot of work after the tariff change, because there were so many people just throwing in systems that weren't fit for purpose. And I think we spent the year after the tariff change just putting systems right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I bet that was a thing, because
overnight PV installers come out the woodwork.
Yeah, he was making so much money just selling. He was only selling the panels, and then he had someone lined up to fit them. But the rate he was selling them at, and the sort of numbers he was talking, they must have been slinging them in.
Let's not forget two things. Firstly, you worked in a gym. That's a fucking lie. And secondly, let's go back to the My Energy episode when Jordan quite said, it's pretty much like Wolf of Wall Street. It was crazy at one point when everyone's just like money. Everyone's just going absolutely crazy for it.
It was absolutely.
Yes, I did work in a gym.
I don't believe you, bollocks.
Muscle Effects.
Might have had a boyfriend called Jim. That's about as far as it went.
Nothing wrong with Special Effects.
Muscle Effects in Croydon. Come on. Sorry, Stuart,
so
I cut you off yet again.
I would say probably more people sort of picking up this PV thing now through sort of wanting to be more greener. What's their sort of driver at the moment?
Yeah, I think greener, wanted to reduce energy costs. These things only ever go up. And so, a lot of our customers are people who are doing new builds or refurbs and stuff, and they're using them to supplement things like heat pump installs and, bits and pieces like that, so they can bring down their energy costs.
I've got a brilliant story for you. Sorry, heat pumps. I got told a story today where the council I work for installed loads of heat source pumps into people's gardens, spent a load of money on it. But after about a month, they was making a buzzing noise, so they just disconnected them all, just sitting in people's gardens. What a monumental waste of money.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Well, I should bring everyone else in the loop yet. So when I was going down my PV rabbit hole, Stuart was my go-to WhatsApp buddy. And I must have drove him fucking bananas, honestly. Am I lying, Stuart, that the very first system I started off, I went to about 7 others and ended up back at the first?
Yeah, we just went round and round and round.
It's such
Could have just saved myself so much effort and just given you the first one.
I know. It was such a rabbit hole, though. It's just you go down it, and I think I was getting far too hooked up in. I I was getting far too hooked up in this the ability to island myself, which is this Section 8 of the new Amendment 2 that talk about is islanding, which is an old term, isn't it? It's an existing term that they've brought into like BS7 671, which basically makes your house as an island, and if you imagine you're completely cut off from DNO, basically off grid. Is that fair to say? You're off grid, but you're still connected to the grid, and it could come back on at any time. That's the difference between islanding and off grid, I suppose. Yeah, you've got a physical connection that can be restored at any time. And I was getting so hooked up in making sure that if I lost the grid, which 2 minutes a year, 3 minutes a year, that I was so focused on designing a system that worked like that I was just losing the plot with it, and I was just being a bit stupid in the end. But
what, like you asked the question to Stuart earlier on about what do you think people's driving force behind installing solar PV and renewables and stuff like that, that sort of whole bandwagon. What is your drive behind it?
I would say 20% green and 80% of trying to lower my bills to make it easier when I retire. I'm earning money now, investing this stuff now, so in 15 years, I'm a little bit better off when I want to retire.
Oh, you can lie to me like that.
Is it fair to say that you've got yourself into a position now where you've actually, you know, you've got the money sitting there, you might as well invest it into something, and this is it, because it takes, you know, not everyone's going to be able to afford to do this sort of stuff. You need to have the money there in the first place for this to even be a thought in your mind. You need to have a bucket of change to go, actually, this is, you know, do I buy a second home, or do I do this, or do I just do both in Neil's case, you know? And buy a Tesla while I'm there.
Yeah.
I've been buying a Tesla as a company car.
I'm not so sure about the green bit, though.
Nonsense.
No, I think it's important to, if I can, listen, the awesomeness, if that's even a word, of using power, just thinking that's coming from the sun is something else. It's really weird. And I don't think, when I was in Portugal, and I'm completely off grid in Portugal, to just realise I can do whatever I want and it's not affecting anything. There's nothing dirty coming from what I'm doing apart from this.
Mate, I just had the most inappropriate joke that I'm going to tell you all off air. I think we've got a new slogan for PV, maybe, mate. You know, when you shit gold, you can go green.
The surprising thing is, Stuart, I think it's fair to say, it's probably not as expensive as people probably imagine. If we go, let's have a little round robin here, and Stuart can decide if people are in the right ballpark. I'll stay out of it. If we say an average detached 3-bedroom house, just a normal run-of-the-mill 3-bedroom house, think council house size, 3-bedroom house, 2 up, 2 down, something like that. How much it would take to fill one of them with PV only. No battery storage, just a PV system, fully installed, ready to start. Go on, Sam.
$8,000.
Mark?
I was going to say $8,000. Sounds such an ass. I'm going to go a bit lower. I'll say 6.
This is like Price is Right, isn't it? Spencer?
Oh, no idea. So I'm going to go for something different and say 4.
I've got to go higher than I go about 15, and I'll go about $15,000.
All right. So, Stuart, what do you reckon is a rough ballpark, middle of the country, not north or not south, roughly one
Birmingham
side
it is.
Well, it's a bit more if I'm going to travel to Birmingham. But
not for you, I'm not talking about you, but from your experience working with other PV installers and talking to PV installers, roughly.
it's about 1,200 to 1,500 pound a kilowatt, and you can get around 3.5 to 4 kilowatts on an average roof. So you're looking about $6,000, something like that.
Who said 6? Spencer, I think you won that, didn't you?
No.
Mark, you said 6, did you? Bang on.
Double fingers himself.
Yeah.
Do that again, Mark. Do that again.
Yes.
He's got Jeremy Beadle hands.
He's got dumpy screwdriver. He's got dumpy fingers.
I was fucking Dick Dastardly goatee over there with his little tash going on.
Did anyone see my Instagram post before we came on?
Nah.
I've started a new hashtag that Sam's a bully.
Good.
I think Nick Bundy's currently pushing it everywhere right now.
Look, it's Mark. Oh, can you see?
You fucker.
Jeremy Beadle.
Because he's
Has that ever been mentioned before, Mark?
Jeremy
It
Beadle.
hasn't,
Liar. You
it hasn't
liar.
actually.
They are abnormally small. Cocktail
It has
sausages.
not.
oh, shame. Jeremy Beadle hands. You know.
No, but let's go back to being normal for a second. So that was
normal. This is abnormal for us. This normal conversation is weird stuff.
$6,000 for an average sort of roughly run-of-the-mill house is only one person went less than that out of all us. So I suppose that tells you what people put the value of it as. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, everyone kind of guessed it.
Well, you went 8.
Well, it wasn't far off. $2,000 ain't a big deal, is it? Not to you, anyway.
33%.
Is any of this new government funding in response to this COVID stuff available for that?
Oh, wait, what?
There's there's government grants, isn't there?
There is government grants, but I don't think they actually clarified if solar is going to be part of that.
It was a grey area, wasn't it? I know the heating side of it. They said that was. But
yeah, so they said solar thermal will, but solar PV isn't at present included in it. And I know there's a couple of petitions out there at the moment to try and get it included.
What's the difference between that and solar thermal? What's the solar thermal?
So solar thermal produces the hot water, so that gets connected directly to your tank.
Big in Spain, Portugal, that sort of things. Yeah.
Yeah.
These are the tubes that go on the roof and they pass this water through to heat them up and then it goes back into the tank.
Yeah.
I've literally got some of them down. I was having this conversation today. I've got some on flats down for my road. I'm in Essex. What is the point? It's never going to get warm enough. It literally has to be a 30-story tower block to get close enough to the sun for it to be worth it.
Do you know what? The heat that comes off those things, though, mate, even in just an average day, produce a lot. I've got them on my place, and I say we probably turn our heat pump off for 6 months of the year because of the solar thermal will produce all the hot water we need.
Is that the first thing you'd go to there? Or would you go solar panels first?
Well,
because they've got no solar panels on this new build.
Just basically got a showroom in his house. Just this is what we do.
Why not? As well, why not?
Got to do something with them stolen materials, yeah.
I've not paid for any of them.
Yeah. No, it depends on space and what you're trying to achieve. Obviously, if you're producing electricity, that's great. But if you can produce all your hot water, if you've only got a small roof, you can put a couple of the tubes on.
Yeah.
You can cover all your hot water needs and shut your boiler off for 6 months a year.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like everyone goes, oh, listen, it's not there yet. That sort of technology is not there yet. But the more I delve into it and the more I hear about it, it is there, isn't it? Really? I mean, what are your bills a year now, in Stuart?
My running cost of the house for all heating, hot water, and electricity is under 90 quid a year.
Are you in profit?
90 quid a year, 90 quid a month. Sorry.
I was going to say.
Are you profiteering yet? Are you in the profit bracket? Or are you still paying?
No, I'm in the profit.
Okay. And how long did that take you?
Electricity is just more than that on its own.
Yeah. So our payback was probably about 5 to 6 years when you take into account the feed-in tariff and the RHI for the heat pump and the solar thermal. But
what's RHI mean?
Renewable heat incentive. So it's a bit like feed-in tariff.
Stuart, Sam gets very frustrated if he doesn't know immediately what something means. And that means that we have to operate at a very low level. For Sam to know immediately.
Well, did you know what that meant?
Yeah, well, of course.
Rick, did you know what that meant?
Yeah, of course.
You definitely didn't.
Of course.
Rick's nostrils flare like Kubla Khan when he don't know something.
No one knows who the fuck Kubla Khan is. In fact, everyone just thinks you're saying Cobra Kai because that's what's on Netflix at the moment. And everyone's like, what are you talking about? I don't know nothing like the Karate Kid.
Okay, what we'll do?
Clarity.
We'll maybe get Kubla Khan on the thumbnail for this episode. So just so the members, everyone does know who he is.
Yeah. Like let's have it right.
So if you had a flick through the proposed part 8, Stuart.
I haven't looked at it directly, but I have watched the E5 webinars. That is a lot to digest.
Did you not find, like I did, and I've got to watch it again and go through back, and that I found a lot of this stuff is already covered under manufacture. It's already sort of pretty much expected in the industry, a lot of this stuff, isn't it? I mean, you're not going to be installing any sort of battery storage systems without an earther, are you? Already, without doing that.
The trouble I find is that they come under different categories. So you could have a power wall just on its own, and that'd be classed as a standby system. Or if you've got power wall with PV, then that falls into the remit of prosumer, and has to fall into a different category of installation.
Did you think about this when you sat on the JPL 64, Spencer?
Yeah, Spencer.
I wasn't involved in Part 8.
It's all Spencer's fault.
Yeah, listen, this Amendment 2 nonsense. How much of it's your fault?
All of it.
Yeah, Mr. JPL 64. Yeah.
I'm not Mr. JPL 64.
Mrs.
I might sit on a committee, but no. But I mean, a lot of this stuff doesn't come from JPL 64 directly. It comes from Sen and Senelec in Europe. Yeah.
Oh, so, yeah, you were saying this.
We were talking this offline.
This is something that they see a lot of people getting confused with. I mean, there's certain regulations that, we make here in the UK, and they're all denoted by, in the regulations, all the numbers of 200, a 200 number at the end. Those are all done in the UK. Everything else pretty much comes from Europe.
But now we're out of Europe, do we have to follow them? That's
a good question. What's the future? Is there been discussions about how this will progress moving forward? Or if you may not be able to talk about it, but I'm just interested.
As far as I'm aware, Sen and Senelec isn't part of as such the European Union as a political thing. It's something as the UK we opted into a long time ago, and as far as I'm aware, then I believe that the status quo will be maintained. We'll continue to be involved in those talks, in the HDs and the IEC documents.
I might become the Nigel Farage of the electrical industry and campaign to get us out of it. I set our own electrical rules.
He's still harping on to them union days, isn't he?
He's hanging on desperately. I just remember that poster with a cat. Hang in there, baby.
Listen, you're not one to talk about cats, bro.
We do have quite a lot of alone, and if there's something in there that you don't like, we've got the draft out for now.
I think we need to bring this back around to the sensibleness of EGTE and go on the weekly toolbox dive 1 dash malarkey.
Is that other thing I've given Stuart?
Stuart, do you know the rules of this?
Yeah, I watched enough of these, mate.
Okay, I feel sorry for you, mate. You must be mad. We don't do it for anyone to watch. If people watch, we're gonna have to do better, boys. Okay, so that's the
You're
rules.
staying behind.
Well, I'm going to stay behind because I'm lazy today.
Too tired for the last one.
Out of 6 of us, I'm sure I'm tired from the last one. It's still out of breath from it. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
To be honest, Ricky, I'm going to stay with you. It's a bit tricky to get the van.
Well, you've got to get something, mate. It's the rules, so you better find something pretty quick.
I got it out earlier, mate. I was prepared.
God, what at? Jesus Christ, was I not here for that? God, I missed that, mate. I missed that. I'm a big guy. Perhaps off air we can have a little re-evaluation, mate. Right, let's have a conversation. What do you want to talk about?
How's your week been, mate?
My week, well, obviously I've got a brilliant story. Obviously, I'll preempt this story. I got suspended from work last week for a day because HR sent a email to my manager saying we haven't got the documentation that we need to prove that Ricky's eligible to work in the UK. So I was like, okay, what does he need? So he needs a birth certificate. I'm working with him for 10 months. So he needs a birth certificate, and he needs, in my case, I need to change a name deed because I changed my name when I was 18 from my dad's name, who I never knew. So I've done that. And something with my national insurance number on. That can't be something from the company I work for at the moment. And I was self-employed before that. So it's all a bit of a nightmare. I've got everything I needed. Didn't have a birth certificate. Couldn't find it anywhere. So the company had to send off for my birth certificate. And I got express delivery. It didn't come the next day. It came on the Saturday. So this was the Thursday. So I was like, officially, we're going to have to suspend you for the day because we don't know if you're eligible to work. Apparently, it's like a £10,000 fine if they get audited and they haven't got the correct paperwork. So yeah, so I got a day's holiday, I think, in truth. But yeah, it was obviously I got suspended without pay officially, and as I said off air, some of the boys thought it'd be really funny to start a little bit of banter, a little bit of a story. I'll go into that because I was like that today, right? Fucking right. So we do this round robin and I'll tell the story. Who wants to start tonight? Oh, Spencer ain't back. Sorry. Spencer ain't back.
Tell the story, man.
Well, Spencer can't do it then, can he?
So no, he's back now.
Why is he in his dressing gown? He looks like, you know who he looks like? He looks like that geezer from Crystal Maze.
He does look like the geezer from Crystal Maze.
What was his name?
What's his name?
Richard O'Brien.
Richard O'Brien. That's who he looks like. Dun 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 dun. Crystal Maze.
After fans, please.
Did you ever see anyone win? Did anyone ever win on the Crystal Maze? I don't ever see it.
Who remembers? What was that thing with you had to be blind and the geezers? Your mates used to have to just get you through an obstacle course that was all virtual.
Yes.
Was it Nightmare?
Yeah. Yes, it was.
Oh,
it was
yeah, that was brilliant.
Great guy. Oh,
but the Giz used to sit there stroking his beard.
Nightmare.
That's what everyone just said that 5 times.
Right,
Nightmare.
Spencer's been moonlighting.
This is all you do. This is all you bring to the table now. You need to reevaluate your life. So all you've done so far tonight is show what people look like.
Yeah, it's quite funny though.
Good. I've something good from the toolbox, Dash.
Oh, that's sweet. Well, I've got my tool here.
Right, hold on. We're going to start with Spencer because that's on the right-hand side. So, yeah, Spencer, what you got?
Well, I had to top a set of my last one, which was a set of keys, I believe.
Which won't be difficult.
It was a set of keys.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great call to set of keys.
My box full of lock-off devices of various sorts, kinds, and
I'm so
nature.
safe. I'm so safe.
If you haven't got a decent number of lock-off kits, you're
I'm safest electrician in the world.
Can I
How many
just say
circuits can you work on at a time?
Well, when I was doing a lot of testing,
yeah, that's fair.
Like a large 4-on-4 panel or something, you need a lot. Yeah.
How about this, right? I've got a little safe isolation story today, right? So we've been asked to take the lead on some meter changing works that are happening, similar to what the problem Mark's got. The NetRail trying to get everything cloud-based, and they've engaged a company that's nationwide to do it all. And there's a couple of stations they want us to take the lead on to make sure it's in line with the best practices for the station, blah, blah, blah. And part of that role is carrying out safe isolation. And they want to change 14 meters, mixture of single phase and 3-phase, in 4 hours. And I said to them, well, for us to do a safe isolation issue, a permit's going to be 15 minutes. Times that by 4, that's 14, that's 3.5 hours. How the hell are you going to do 14 meters in half an hour? Just met with silence today.
Someone else is getting that contract. Someone that says, we can do that. No worries. No worries.
Someone's priced that going, yeah, we'll just get in there, disconnect, chuck them in, job's good.
Yeah, and how many times have you heard that story in your life? Yeah. No worries, mate. No worries. We'll get 14 blokes, all improvers. Don't use qualified. We lose too much money on the job. Mark, what you got this week?
I've got Bosch bandsaw.
I thought it was a shoe.
Mark, this is really, really embarrassing, mate.
No!
First snap. First snap.
What's the it's not even like a decent. It's not even a relevant tool to our industry. They're both bullshit.
Of course it is. You cut your containment down with this.
You cut your fingers down with that, more like.
You would. Go on then, Mark. Mark and
Mark's
Stuart,
fingers used to be really long.
Why as a Sparky would I have a bandsaw?
I use it for containment, cutting down tube and tray. You can cut all sorts with it.
No, chop saw.
Yeah.
No, they're brilliant. Like you can cut stud, you can cut you need a lot. They are the business.
Stud cutter for the stud. Yeah. Stud cutter.
I don't think you probably beat a stud cutter for stud, but the fact that it only does one job means it's not going to be appearing a lot.
And it's 460 quid for a naked one.
Oh yeah, but that doesn't mean nothing to Nil, does it?
No, bags of money over here.
If you've got, listen, it's not about having bags of money. It's about making the business case for it, isn't it? If you've got a load of stud to do, you're buying a stud cutter. Simple as that.
Yes. Oh, a bandsaw.
So hang on. So I'll show us exactly in more detail, Mark.
Yeah,
Because
let's have a
now,
look at
embarrassingly, Stuart's got to go and get another tool now. So
He was just saying, I'm so glad I don't have to run and get one. Coming in.
You're not just limited to cutting containment. You can cut all sorts with it.
fingers.
Like what?
Yeah, cut your fingers.
Is that a good one, Mark?
Sam's funny.
Yeah, I remember this one.
Have you got a shit one that Neil can buy?
There's one that you still have to use Allen keys on. I think it's made by Makita.
That's right up Neil Street, eh? Has it got a wooden blade?
That's getting right on my nerves. That was, I tell you.
You don't have a battery, you just have to stand there and do it. It's called a hacksaw.
I've done 2 armours today, both with a hacksaw. I just don't understand why people still use these twiddly arse things.
I've never used one. What, you're talking about the SWA cut that's got a little blade?
Yeah, the tighten up, finger around, tighten up. I use a hacksaw and I was like...
I've never used one, so I can't comment, but I know people that have that said they're pretty good.
I was watching the other day. I was watching Artisan install his Zappy charger in his house, and he's using one of them. And I just think you got to go around, then you got to tighten it up again, go around, then tighten it up again, and go. Just fucking use hacksaw.
Yeah, I don't use a junior one either. It's a full size one.
That's true. I've never used a junior one.
No.
Yeah, it full size one like a real.
You do look a bit ridiculous when it's 1.5 and you just go straight through it.
You remember things. I remember like really weird things. And I remember years ago, I was still an apprentice, and I was working for this mob in London I'd done an apprenticeship with. I remember driving around at Christmas. I was driving around the Governor, and I remember just seeing this geezer work. Or it's a kid, a youngster working on street lighting, and he was having a battle with this SWA. It was brands SWA flying everywhere, and he was trying to get it. Was a disaster. I just remember looking at him going, "Oh my god, he's having a bad day."
Well, I told you the story, didn't I, about the guy that was working in the Debenhams, and he was working in like this, it's almost like a substation in a way, and he's working near the buzz bars, and it was cutting an SWA, and the wires were just getting longer and longer and longer. Then it went across 2 of the fucking buzz bars. Fucking he was just standing there like, what have you done? Stuart, you're back. What you got now, my friend? Not a set of keys, please.
No, got a cloud.
Oh, I know what this is.
Oh, this is embarrassing.
Battery crimper.
Oh,
yeah.
Great bit of kit. That is a great bit of kit.
So time saving. Gets you the right crimp every time. Yeah.
So what's
one-handed operation as well?
Talk us through it. I've never seen one. So how does it work? What goes on here?
Okay. So you got your usual dies. Let's chuck a couple in there.
Ooh.
Put it around your crimp.
Yeah.
Done.
See, I've used them, but I've never used like that specific one.
Yeah,
sexy.
How much is that?
Enough.
Yeah, it's a couple of grand, is it?
Yeah. Well, the scary side of a grand.
And what's it? Battery operated? Lithium battery in it?
Yeah, a little lithium. Was it 10 volt battery?
Not NiCad.
Yeah.
Is it worth it?
No, it's definitely worth it, mate. We do a lot of big generator stuff, bit of big panels.
Sure.
And when you're trying to get one of those massive, great hand-operated ones in there.
I mean, realistically, what size crimp can you go to before you have to start looking at a battery-operated device? Because even sort of 25 mil, this is starting to struggle, isn't it? And if it's sort of north of that, you're gonna, if you're doing a lot of them, you're gonna want something.
Doing more than 25 mil.
Oh, yeah, that.
100%. That's going mental.
Like a hand job, isn't it?
But I'm saying if you're doing 25 mil all day long, every day, bam, bam, you're probably going to get one of them even for that. When you start doing 25.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, don't listen. We know you like you make things difficult with your Makita fucking multi-tool and shit.
Look at Claw over here. He's going to use his hand. Look at it.
Yeah. It's a good point, actually. Yeah.
I'd beef a finger.
Yeah. If only you had a fucking battery-operated crimper, mate, that would never have happened.
If only I didn't go walking into the sea at 7 o'clock in the morning after an all-night out and slip arse over face. And it's not...
You could literally just every day wake up with regret with them stupid accidents.
But the owner of Cafe Mambo in Ibiza took me to hospital in his Hummer, which was a bonus. It's worth it just for that.
Nice. I think I'd have a hammer. Sam, what you got?
Bit disappointing this week because I can't really. Well, I actually haven't got any tools with me. But this.
Too busy breaking his agency agreement. Is that a measure?
Laser measurer.
Laser measurer.
But it's not Bosch. Because I've seen the Bosch one and the Bosch one looks sexy, but it's about £100. I bet Mark's got the Bosch one.
I don't actually.
XL van. XL van.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something, it's 20 quid.
We can't go on for that. As long as it's
black and yellow. So
but have you stood there? Like, have you got a tape measure out?
Of course I have. Yes, just to check its accuracy. Of course, and it is accurate because I bet it's pretty basic science behind it. But yeah, that's decent. I like that. I use it all the time. One, because I'm lazy, and two, because I don't know. I just like them.
I think it's a great bit of kit. Every time I try to tape measure, it's folding. It's
Do you know what it's good for? You know, like if you're
measuring is what it's good for.
It's amazing for that.
Yeah, really good at
It's crap at cutting unistrap, but it's great
really,
at measuring.
It's really good for measuring and hammering wall plugs in.
Data centers. Doing data centers. You're such an idiot, Rick.
Only data centers. It only works in data centers. It doesn't work in ours.
No, because you've got like long space. You've got a load of containment to do. And
Only in data centers.
It's easy.
Yeah.
Better than using a tape. Anyway,
anything's better than using a tape. You know, when you've got a tape's handy for little jobs. It's almost like using a chalk line instead of a laser now, isn't it? The technology's there where you probably don't need a tape measure. You can get one of them for 20 quid.
Oh, don't forget, we got announced the winner today of the laser level competition.
Okay, that's cool. What you got?
Right, well, I'm quite impressed this week. I've got a Schneider Electric IMT 23002. Now, it's a little bit better than the 001, but it's basically a multimeter.
But it's a multimeter. We've already had the conversation about how we electricians don't use multimeters anymore. So get out of here with
No, this is really good because it's got two probes, a red and a black
nonsense.
one. And what's really good about this is that it's made especially for people that have got free hands, because obviously you've got the two probes, but then I don't know how to hold the meter. So it's really good for that.
I feel like that's not GS38 compliant as well, then probes, mate. You've got a bit of issue over there.
But it does all the top. It does voltage, DC and AC, and batteries. Actually, it does batteries.
Yeah,
which is useful.
Saves you licking them.
It does.
Does it need an Allen key to move the dial?
No, it doesn't need an Allen key. It's quick. It's new.
However, that was quicker.
That was
quicker at cutting plasterboard than his multi-tool was. He just stood there and went. That's easier.
It's got a light that don't work. But yeah, that's my tool of today. I really struggled today, but I thought...
Yeah, you have really struggled, mate. I think it's really starting to come to light how much installation work you actually do nowadays.
No, it is, right. And the thing is, I'll tell you why I bought this, which is a great bit of kit. Schneider, if you want a sponsor, get in touch. Pleasure. But why I bought this is because I'm doing stuff around the house and I just ain't got the tools anymore. And it's like... It's a DIY,
isn't it? You're a DIYer.
That's exactly why
you bought it.
But the thing is, you sort of begrudge buying yourself really expensive stuff that you're just going to use once. It's like...
Why don't you get a pair of LAP ones from Screwfix for like £7? That never work. Doesn't matter how many times you press a button on them to get them to go to AC, it still comes out with like 12,000 volts, and you're like, "This." I swear to God, I smashed the last pair.
I'm still waiting for the week when I can finally use this.
You could have used it this week. That is better than what you had. I remember when I was an apprentice, I went and got my first ever volt stick, and I think it was Draper. You know, and obviously now you qualify, volt sticks are kind of looked down on anyway. We don't use them often.
Why?
No, it depends which volt stick you get.
Well, I use them occasionally, but whatever the case.
That's because you're basically a DIYer.
I ain't got a multimeter in my bag, mate, so fuck you. And I don't need an Allen key to use my multi-tool either. So anyway, I got this volt pen. I swear to God, it sounded like a lorry reversing. Beep.
That actually was a lorry reverse.
That lasted. It lasted about 10 seconds, and then that got launched. It's like actually once when I started rugby, I put a scrum cap on. That literally lasted a game. I got someone chucked it in the shower, pissed on it, and got chucked in the bin.
Like their arse with it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Speaking of rugby, we used to play a great game where you put toilet roll in between your bum cheeks, let it go to the floor, then set fire to the toilet roll, and you had to run to the other side of the clubhouse and dip it in water before it burnt your bum.
I thought they could just stop tensing and you'd save yourself a
that was when since then I've never been allowed to coach the under eights.
Super. It's me, isn't it?
Right, hold on. Oh yeah, go on.
I've got sensible this week. Look what I got back.
Oh, sunglasses case.
After 7 months in isolation, 7 months of furlough with the guy that fucking bothered it.
That's the kit. That's the.
Obviously, we've rebranded it. We've made it. It's pretty good. We've made it slightly better with a rebrand. The favourite Wi-Fi. Who's got one of these? I guess most people have.
No, I'll tell you what. I haven't, but I'm waiting for my first job of subsurface lighting and surveying ducts is going to be awesome with that. Awesome.
Yeah, but RP rated, so you can go through ducts even if they're a little bit wet. So as you make sure you've got the O-ring on the little screw cap. Don't forget that, mate, because without that, you are not IP rated. But yeah, I love that bit of kit. I think it's awesome. I think it was worthy of another mention.
Oh, a little round of applause.
It's actually, I tell you what, when did this come out? 2017?
Sure, but as soon as I saw it, I was a fan of that. As soon as I saw it.
It's definitely due for a version 2. It's definitely due for a version 2.
Have you got one, Mark?
I haven't actually, no.
Have you not?
Are you basically even an electrician?
I just shove Matthew's arms up holes when I'm not sure what's there. Soon find out.
When you take these apprentices on, mate, with the little agreement, you can be like, what? First thing you're going to get is 2 of these, and I'm having 1, so fuck.
Yeah, well, speaking of that, I've hopefully got a new one starting next week.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, I put the post up a while ago, didn't I, that we was looking. Practicing what I preach with apprentice 1-to-1, so I'm taking some into my business at the minute. We've got enough work there, so I'm going to give it a go and see if we can get a little bit bigger through the apprenticeship model, because I think that's the best way to bring new blood into a company and do a little bit to help out right now.
Certainly the cheapest way, isn't it?
That as well.
No, but realistically, people say, apprentices are such how can I afford to do one? We talk about this all the time.
Yeah, drive me mad.
The time you employ an apprentice is so much cheaper than taking someone on and paying them one of the worst rates for an electrician. An apprentice is still going to work out cheaper.
What's happened to my segment? I've had no mockery this week. There's no one said anything bad about us this week.
What do you mean?
Well, we had a triggered section last week for rude comments.
I thought it was just a slag off Rick. That's as far as I got into it.
No, we'd like to slag you
off. Turned off with the up then, did you? Are you on the YouTube channel, are you then?
Yeah.
Are you checking out the winner of the competition?
Yeah, I am.
I think there's been a bit of fiddling going on for the winner of the competition.
Again, it's not that fucking James Beck again, is it?
No,
this is closer to home, Rick.
Bastard.
Closer to home.
Listen, if you're not going to talk English, then you're not allowed on Monday Club anymore. Closer to whom?
I see where this is going now. Someone's. What's the polite way to put it?
Rig the system.
Yeah, someone's.
I think the question is fuckery afoot. I really don't know what you're talking about, but what you've got to ask yourself is: were the rules broken?
I'm going to put in a caveat now that says, yes, they was, and no one said the rules, but we all knew them. Okay, the unspoken rules. Right?
Although I feel like if anyone was going to win a laser that wasn't quite a DeWalt, he's probably going in that direction, innit?
It wasn't Matthew who took a vote, was he?
No. So, the score that Matthew got last week...
hang on. Before you do that, what is the... what was the dance collective? Because Sam struggled with basic maths last week, didn't he? Basic maths.
Someone must have thrown a double. Double 19. Bollocks.
Double 3.
Who throws a 3? Who throws a 3?
You can imagine that would be his exact response. Like angry with the scorer. What did you go in that one for? 17? No one even had 17.
Who puts 13 on a board?
You know what makes me laugh?
I'm making my own board. I'm making my own dartboard.
Yeah.
Every time Rick does me, he does this.
It's going to be a thing. It's going to be a
I've
thing.
done that.
Yeah,
I've
but
never done that in my life.
what's the first thing he's never done this in his life. The first thing he'd done this evening, welcome to EGTE Monday Club. Look at me, I'm Sam. Look at my hair. Oh, it's so wonderful. Oh, my God.
Thinks he's up, he's not.
Yeah.
All right, listen. Let's get down to brass tacks here. Right. So the score was 62.
I noticed Spencer and Stuart are so rich they don't have to enter this competition.
Yeah, I know. Saw them years ago, just amazing singing songs. So the score was 62. And there's been a fair few people put up their guess. Now, there's an exact guess here, 62, by Alex Bridgman.
Oh! Well, hats off. We've got our winner there. Alex, get in touch with anyone here from EGTE and they'll send you out to you.
Incorrect.
One question. What does Alex do for a living?
Alex does YouTubing, school, and rugby.
Did you need the laser level to do the white lines or something? What's going on, mate?
I didn't know the job of the people. I mean, what was the rules?
Is this new? Is this really a thing that you really want a laser?
Mate, I'm not being funny. Oh, I might have sat on the box, but that's a quality bit of kit. Yeah, kindly gifted to us by our friends at
General
Electrical Times.
Yep.
And I have a winner, and it's a winner I said last week.
Alex Bridgman.
Jack Morris. He's the closest with 60.
Well done, Jack. Reach out, get in touch, and we'll swap some dates.
I think why ain't Alex with? I wanted Alex's head to pop in. Oh, you cheeky fucking bastard! I fucking guessed that.
Also, I think we should say this: has Beck been in touch yet?
Nope.
Beck, you've got till next week. Otherwise, the next person closest to you is going to get which may be Joe Robinson.
I reckon we go again. We go again.
But my head's not changed in size, Sam. I mean,
well, do you know what I mean?
Hey!
Nonsense.
So, James Beck, you've got until you hear this, which will be next Monday, to get in contact with one of us to get your prize.
Right, Stuart, I've got a question for you, bro.
Yes, mate.
Did you have any sort of topic that you wanted to discuss on this week's episode?
I think we touched on it briefly earlier with Neil about Second Amendment, mainly part 8. But I just want to gauge people's thoughts on what's coming in and see where the industry's going.
I think it's a fair
Sam,
subject.
what's your thoughts?
My thoughts on Amendment.
Sam, have you read it yet, Sam?
Sam was so shocked by the question. No one's ever asked him that before.
He nearly fell off his seat there.
I didn't. Well, I didn't. So I read page 4, and under subsection 3, I did think it's quite an involved subject.
So you fucked it off.
You're right. You did remind me a lot of Nigel Farage then. The way you dodged that.
I've got that nonsense talking on lock.
I feel like we've really got to, if there's any more serious conversations, you've got to have them now, because the story I'm going to tell is got to be told right at the end.
Let's go through this Amendment 2 things. I think it's been... What do people think of it? I mean...
Well, it's pointless you talking, mate. Your mic's gone dead again.
Don't even wind me up.
That was an hour and 5 minutes in, and Neil's mic's gone to crap.
Has he gone quiet again?
Yeah, it's gone.
It's not so bad now, to be fair. But yeah,
can I just say that's a 500 quid setup.
I think I found what the problem is. I think it's the lead.
He's got the most expensive setup out. Look at his face. Look.
You ain't got it trapped in your desk again, have you?
Can you hear me or not?
No,
it's getting quieter.
You're quiet.
I think it's the lead's the problem.
I've got a lead. I can send you a lead.
Still shouldn't happen, should it?
No, we shouldn't. We agree. It's embarrassing, mate. You're letting down the show massively.
Every week. Every week.
So, in fact, there was actually a comment earlier saying it would have been Monday Club if Neil's microphone didn't break down at least once. That was a comment.
I'll tell you what, there's your competition. Guess
today.
the time at which Neil's microphone will break down during the show.
Yeah. Honestly, it's my trigger point, is if it goes.
Yeah, your mic's gone, mate. So Amendment 2's out. Amendment 2 out. You're going to have to take yourself off to another podcast as you do, mate, to talk about that, I'm afraid.
Has it really gone?
Yeah.
It's not gone, but you've gone quiet.
You're half volume.
Utter nonsense every week. Yes, Stuart. Let Neil.
I don't think we should talk. I think we should all sit in silence to really make it sound bad for him.
I'm here now. Don't you worry about it. I'm here.
No,
but it's not loud. It's not loud. Look at the face.
We'll wait, Neil. It's all right. It's not important.
It looks like an angry Sasquatch.
And what makes it worse is Neil edits them, didn't he? So, if we just sit here silent, unlucky.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, but even like that, it's pretty quiet.
Are you serious?
Yeah, that's not loud.
It's so loud in my
You was
headphones,
expecting it to be, weren't you? You was expecting that to be like boom. But it just wasn't.
Listen, stop talking nonsense for a second. Stuart.
Coming from Sam.
What do you want to? What part of this Amendment 2 would you like to explore?
I don't know, mate. There's so much of it that's come out. When you look at what came out in Amendment 1 and now compared it to stuff that's coming out.
You don't need to use an earth rod anymore. You don't need to use an earth rod. That was it.
Yeah.
And then it was, these are all the mistakes we made. We've corrected them now, but we ain't really, because there'll be some more mistakes corrected in Amendment 2. And Amendment 2 is like, here's the 19th edition. That's pretty much how it's gone, isn't it?
Here, who's not read it?
I've not read it.
So how do you know this?
Because I'm not an idiot. No, you know what? Because we have these conversations. I have conversations at work. I have conversations here. None of it's set in stone yet. I've heard, obviously, ZS values might be getting stricter again, which blows that QTech loop check out the window, doesn't it? Because that's set for 1.8 on a ring main. So if that changes, they're going to have to redesign that.
Almost like it's done on purpose.
Yeah, funny that, isn't it? That almost got me trouble. Why
would they ponce about the ZS rating?
Because that loop check, oh, sorry. Why would they change it? Yeah, they changed it in the 18th, didn't they? And the 17th, I think. Or one of the amendments of the 17th.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
They're always fiddling with.
Spencer, why?
They make it stricter, didn't they?
Why?
Mate, I don't know. Speak to Spencer.
He's trying to ask Spencer. You keep butting in.
Honestly, the section that's dealt with is in one of the committees I sit on. I mean, the last major thing I remember changing on there was when they did the 80% values. They added the C minimum factor. That was the last thing, and obviously that's due to voltage variations, those sorts of things. But other than that, I'm struggling to remember a time when there's been any real major changes, other than obviously with harmonisation and change in voltages.
It's fair to say though, if this does go through unamended or even minor amendments, this is probably the biggest change I can recall in my career to regulations. And I think what's
going on? Whoa, hold up! Your mic has gone from nothing to like blowing my eardrums out.
I reckon it's your headphones.
No, it's not.
It's definitely not.
I've changed the channel. But anyway, listen, let's not go. So what's everyone think about, especially with regards to AFDDs and Section 8 aside for a second, to drop that AFDDs is a huge, huge thing. And if it goes through...
Yeah, we spoke about that last week with Nick, didn't we? That the cost implication is massive. Certainly for domestic customers.
I heard something the other day. Someone came to me with this, and I'll be honest, I didn't know the answer, but it sounded ridiculous. And he said, AFDDs only work on ring mains.
No, the opposite.
Anyone heard this? What do you mean
I think the issue with them is the current leakage, isn't it? It's 9 milliamps or something you've got to try and stick as a max leakage on them. I'm sure there's something like that I've read.
3 amps. Yeah. It's a current, isn't it? It's 3 amp current roughly, or 2.5 amp current before they'll trip in the event of an arc. But that's why I think lighting circuits have been told as not requiring them or it's been, whenever we talk about this, just for those watching, listening, just assume that we're talking about the Amendment 2 goes through. We know it's not been voted on or whatever. But yeah, so that's why I think lighting circuits have been left on it, because generally with the LEDs nowadays, there's such a low current that they wouldn't even work under on an AFDD anyway. Different manufacturers have different minimum currents before they'll work. Some will be 2.5, some will be 3, some will be 3.2 or whatever. When I've done my board recently, as some of you will know, I put AFDDs in, and I actually had 4 lighting circuits in my house. It is ridiculous. 4 lighting circuits. So I just chucked 3 circuits off one AFDD to try and get the current high enough to be... what's your concern, Sam?
I don't have one, but I know someone will moan about it.
Yeah, someone will. Someone will.
Like, there'll be some virtuous person out there bunching them into one breaker.
Yeah. It's a weird one, isn't it? Because when you think about it, people will go, you can't stick more than one circuit on a breaker, but it's 3 lighting radials.
So what when that breaker's £7?
Don't say where you split them from.
Rick, it's all right when the breaker's £7, when the AFDD's 130, you're thinking about bunching them up. Do you know what I
mean? Yeah, 100%.
Neil, that's a good point as well, because I think everybody's talking about the cost at the moment, but the potential is with Amendment 2, it's not looking at coming in for another 2.5 years. So they're looking at introducing it in a year and a half and making it mandatory in 2.5 years. So I'd like to think in that time it would have come down from 130 quid to, who knows what. But
I think it's fair to say if it doesn't, it will never pass. It will never go through if they're still too expensive, because ultimately the tier 1 companies just couldn't afford it to. And there is that aspect to the regulations, that there is a lot of people from big tier 1 companies involved in it, and if it don't suit them, then it won't go through.
Well, put it this way, if the likes of Hager, I don't know the manufacturing quality of it, but if the likes of Hager, Eaton and the like don't come up with single module AFDDs, RCD and MCB all in one device, one single pole device, then Crabtree are going to walk away with the market, because there's going to be no one's going to install in a domestic setting anything other than a single module.
Wilex do it as well.
Sorry, that's what I meant. I do apologise.
Yeah, what Wilex do, I don't know about that, but Wilex do the single module. The only trouble with that, as I've said before, is when everything's okay.
It's the same owner, isn't it? It's the same,
quite possibly. Yeah. Quite possibly. Yeah. But when everything's...
isn't it? Yeah.
Finished? Still finished? Still going? I don't know if your mic's so loud you can't even know when I was talking. So what
else do you think about it, Rick?
I think the big problem with them is when everything's okay with it and it's working normally, it's a red light, and that is massively confusing to the consumer. That's like, looks in it, the amount of calls we get, and funny enough, the only time we see AFDDs is on our kitchen ring main. That's the only place I've ever seen them installed on a council contract. I've always said it should be installed.
To be fair,
well, I think on shower circuits is the main. Pull cords are always burning out, so it makes absolute sense to have an AFDD on a shower circuit. But they're always on ring mains. Obviously, you get an RCD trip, you go to it and it's red. You reset it, it's red, and they go, yeah, but it's something wrong with it. Why is it red? And no, that's completely normal. Well, I don't know. There must be a reason they've decided to use a red light for normal instead of green. There must be.
There's a for on, isn't it? Red light for on.
Perhaps, yeah.
The fact that Wilex do a single pole one, I'm too far away now. The fact that Wilex do a single one, why would the other manufacturers bring out not single ones? Is that Wilex one a bit rubbish or what?
One module is.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Just before people go, we're not talking about single pole and double pole because So yeah, one
I
module
should
devices.
say as well that if you want the equivalent Hager and the equivalent Eager, that's 3 modules. 3 modules as opposed to 1, and so
that's crazy.
You've got to find 3 times the space in your consumer unit to fit these. So you're really talking 2 consumer units, stacked consumer units in a normal domestic house. I just don't see.
Which is great for Hager because they do a lovely range in them, but
if you work on council, Rick, how many your councils are going to go for the most economical choice if they're made to the standard?
But this is the conversation we're having now, because obviously if AFDD's coming, even if it is 2.5 years away, I'm always speaking to the QS and we're always talking about these sort of things that you've got to start bringing it in there. And at the moment, there's only my the council I work for don't stick AFDDs in anywhere. The one closest to us do, but only on kitchen ring mains, which is a bit, like I say, the fault you get on kitchen ring mains, it seems a bit silly. The only place I'd really realistically say we should be installing them everywhere is shower circuits.
Is the kitchen ring main off the back of the reports of Grenfell and the white goods, that sort of thing, Rick? Or do you not know that much about it?
I don't, but we're talking in houses. We're not talking in blocks of flats and stuff.
Mm.
You know, we're talking in, and it's not everywhere. It's in, you know, well, obviously the subcontractor's gone in and they've got their new spec sheet, and for whatever reason they've said ring main 32 amp. But like I said, realistically, from being out in the field or from anyone that's done this, shower pull cords are the things that always going burning out, and that is exactly where an AFDD would be amazing. I've been to houses where like the neutral's burnt out about 250 mil back. They say, "Oh yeah, we just kept switching it back on." Did it not smell burning? Yeah, but we turned it back on. It stayed on, so we just carried on using it. And it's, well, that's crazy. You know what I mean? An AFDD isn't quite that easy to. You don't just switch it back on and walk away, do you? There's a process to it, which the sort of person that keeps switching back on even you smell burning probably wouldn't be able to work out to get it re-energized, you know?
You make a real good point, Rick. And ironically, the regs, the draft version might exclude showers because it's for 32 amps and under. So, you know, you might find that your scenario is actually going to be one of the things that can be risk assessed away from having AFDD.
Yeah, perhaps manufacturers will start doing it. Like at the moment, we have to install to manufacturer's guidance from Myra, otherwise they won't honour their warranty. So you has to be on a 40 amp breaker, has to be on a 10 mil cable,
so
has to have a full bore water isolator valve. That's
really interesting. So under current, if it goes along the way we think it's looking like it will go, one of the highest risks of burnout in your experience, Rick, is probably not going to be covered under AFDDs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a burnout apart from, well, obviously you do sometimes get a loose connection in the socket, of course you do, but the main things are obviously showers and people overloading socket fronts, washing machines burning out, you know, as they do. Or
that was my understanding. That was my understanding that they're really for dodgy appliances and stuff like that can be really useful for dodgy appliances. That was the whole thing with Grenfell. Nick was talking about it last week about that is what caused the fire. So maybe. So what will they do? Will they, in Amendment 2, will they just put like, right, for kitchen and stuff like that, you've got to have it, or will they just blanket the board? Every circuit's got to have it. But you guys were talking about the lighting circuit doesn't really require them, and it probably won't trigger on a lighting circuit.
Yeah, at the moment, as I've read it, it's any circuit 32 amp and under.
With the exception of the lighting circuits, specialist equipment, and circuits that feed life safety systems such as emergency lighting or fire alarms.
Is that because of nuisance tripping?
I imagine so, yes.
It's the whole cost versus safety argument, isn't it? And AFDDs, if they're going to reduce fires and protect lives, then, you know, they're going to have to start getting installed.
Nuisance tripping. It's nothing called nuisance tripping. It's a device doing exactly what it was designed to do.
So why not stick it on fire systems then? Why is it being omitted from that?
Well, no, it might be omitted, but I don't believe in the term nuisance tripping.
Fair comment.
I think it's an absolute misnomer. It's the device doing exactly what it's designed to do. If there's a fault, it's doing something to operate.
But it's still a nuisance, though, Spence.
Depends who you are, really. But you know, at the end of the day, the device is doing its job.
Yeah.
Annoyingly, I'm fucking trying hard to battle against that. I can't really find a reason to do it. But
well, let's be fair. The word nuisance tripping did come from obviously filament light bulbs blowing, and it trips it out. Which you're right, it's doing the job correctly. But when a light bulb blows, obviously it was a nuisance, wasn't it? But yeah, you're quite right. The device is doing exactly what is designed to do, which brings us on to why is it being emitted then? So if we're saying nuisance tripping, you know, there must be a reason. It must trip. It must cause it to trip under a condition that it's not meant to, if that makes sense.
I would hazard a guess that they're looking at the risk of... The risk is probably greater if that safety system stops unnecessarily than if that fault that protection by AFDD is not there. The risk is. Does that? I'm struggling to put that into words, but
yeah, because the sensible part is saying almost like, you know, yeah, it could be arcing, but that's less of a risk than the equipment going off because
exactly.
It's
Yes,
which is obviously horrifying to hear, actually, knowing what arcing could eventually end up being. And you know, I guess if you're in a situation like a hospital, for instance, and regular checks should be happening anyway. You're going to pick it up before it becomes an issue for an AFDD to potentially pick up anyway, you could argue.
I always use it. So I still design with RCDs as an additional protection now. There's so many put it as standard. Whereas if RCD protection is not required, then I don't install RCD protection. And you do get a certain generation of electricians that just taught RCD it. And if it's not required, I won't install an RCD. I'll try and avoid an RCD unless it's required.
It saves you doing a lot of jobs, though, doesn't it? Installing an RCD.
Isn't there a line that goes with it? If in doubt, RCD it out or something.
Yeah, I think you might be right. I think I've heard something like that. Yeah.
It's nonsense,
you have now.
AFDDs are coming, aren't they? The AFDDs are definitely coming, whether we like it or not. And the cost versus safety argument will only last for so long, because Stuart makes a good point. Eventually, that price point's going to come down. And Sam said it's to cover issues with electrical equipment and fires. I think at the minute we do have the argument that consideration needs to be given about the cost, because people aren't even going to have RCDs installed.
Someone say the wording again for for that amendment. Someone say the wording again.
What are you talking about?
What wording?
It's something like AFDDs shall be installed.
Shall be installed. And what are the exclusions in that?
So AFDD shall be installed in single phase domestic dwellings, with the exception of certain equipment such as motors. It does list them. But it's quite unusual. I don't think you use that exception many times. Lighting and life safety systems such as emergency lighting, smoke alarms, fire alarms.
So actually, the only circuits you're going to be using AFDDs on is ring mains
and radials. Yeah,
not even on the lighting, because it says you don't have to. So is the cost that big now? So how many ring mains are you going to have in the house? One upstairs, one downstairs.
The price of one AFDD is probably double the price most council contractors would pay for a whole board.
Yes, definitely. But if we're talking about just, it's not that big a deal, and certainly in 2.5 years, if you're only putting in say 3-4 AFDDs, it's not like you've got to populate the whole board with AFDDs.
No, but what's reworking of the circuits as well.
It's about £600 now, though, isn't it, for 4 AFDDs without the board?
Yeah.
So that's you get a dual RCD board for £60.
Well, you can't. They won't work off dual RCD boards for a start.
No, but that's what people are installing now. So we're saying, right, we've got to use AFDDs now. Just for 4 AFDDs is £600.
And
then
you've got the other board to house them in.
Yeah.
Then you've got to find the space in that. Sorry, Mark, go on, mate.
I was going to say there's adjustment to the wiring as well, because there is a limit on the amount of connected equipment you can have onto an AFDD. I'm sure I've read that it's 9 milliamps of current leakage across them. So if you've got a large ring main with a lot of stuff plugged into it, it probably ain't going to work anyway. You know, there's other considerations than the actual cost of the device itself.
Are we too soon with this amendment?
No, because like Stuart said, this is still like 2.5, maybe 3.5 years away before it's going to be, if it's going to be even brought in. And hopefully the technology might move along with the AFDDs, and certainly the price point should shift.
Yeah, that's the most important part, isn't it, at the moment, is the price. The price needs to come down for them to be viable.
On domestic setting, yeah. But Mark, so are you saying that some AFDDs will suffer as a result of leakage and will affect their reliability to work?
I believe so. I'm sure I have read some technical documents on that. I'd have to double check.
That's interesting.
That's what I sort of understood as well, Mark. And I was under the impression as well that the RCD versions can get blinded as well, like they can with normal RCBOs.
Is that in the BEMA? By any chance?
Sorry?
Say again?
The BEMA guidance that they put out.
It could be. I'm not sure. I'd have to cross check, but I'm sure I've read that you're allowed a maximum of 9 milliamps of leakage across an AFDD for it to be reliable. As you know, most electrical equipment leaks naturally anyway, so you're gonna get that quite easily. Certainly.
Please tell me that Neil's installed these AFDDs in his house with all the DC he's got going on. Please tell me they're useless.
Mate, I reckon must be.
Listen, I'm a bit of a skeptic about this ACA Type A thing because I had I can't remember which is the ones you're not supposed to have. Type AC is what currently is for general use. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Is that correct? Yeah. So I had two Type AC RCDs, dual split load board, installed with the house, and I've got DC everywhere, and they work fine.
But Neil, are they Wilex ones by any chance?
BG.
Okay, because I know Wilex had a problem for a while that their RCDs were only marked up as Type AC, but they were Type A.
Mm.
So we bought a batch of Type A direct from Wilex, and they all came marked up Type AC. And we queried them, and they went, "Oh yeah, we marked them up wrong."
Oh, okay,
that's a quick get out, isn't it? Oh yeah,
yeah.
But I've pressed the test button, and they've always worked. And I just think, and that was a split load board, so had half the house on it, and they've always worked. And I wonder how much DC you've got to have before you really fall foul of an AC. RC. I know there's some test rigs been put out, but I'm not quite sure how that.
That's the test button on the device, which is basically.
But that's what gets saturated, isn't it? That's the videos I've seen that the test button won't work.
Yeah.
Can you use a conventional tester to test AFDDs?
You can't test them.
Oh,
you can't testable.
No, at the moment.
Well, not unless you want to fork out for like a 20-odd grand piece of kit.
Mm. But also, MCBs are not testable, so that argument doesn't swing with me.
Yeah, SPDs are the same, and they can't test them. Just a little window you change them at.
So there's got to be a relatively a bit of trust from the installer to the manufacturer to say you've built this, it works, and it should work, and it's gone under the rigorous tests because we don't test MCBs to make sure they trip at 6 amp if it's a 6 amp MCB, do we? We take it for its word.
All right, mate.
That's an argument that's gone round in circles for years, even with RCDs.
Mm.
Yeah. RCDs.
Yeah, I feel like we've gone for quite a bit now, but I feel like I'd like to carry this on another day, especially with Section 8, because I think it's really interesting.
I'll sit that one out.
Yeah, definitely. There's many you can sit down as many as you want, honestly. Oh, hang on. How long is your story, Rick?
I'll give you a really quick version now, but I'm very tired. It doesn't seem as funny in my head as anymore.
Maybe we'll do the story and then call it a night.
I'll tell you what, if what we do, we'd be really clever. We say bye now. So if the story's really too much, we can edit it out. I think that's a good idea.
No editing on Monday Club.
Right. So on Friday, as we know, the audience know, because I told the story where everyone's doing the toolbox dash. I got suspended for a day from work for paperwork reasons. And they thought it'd be very, very funny to say Rick's been suspended from work. He got caught being a paedophile. So I got a phone call Saturday, and it was just.
I'm not laughing. Do you know what?
It was just amongst the electricians, and I'd said it to a couple of people. So the QS run me Saturday, and he went. They took me van off me on Friday, and they took me work phone off me. Because this was part of it, was like giving your gun and your badge in if you were a police officer, you know. So you're suspended, you can't take your van home, we need that and whatever. So he rang me Saturday, and he went, when you get your phone back, give this fella a call. This is what he said. So anyways, I went to the yard this morning, and I handed me my birth certificate, and I got my keys back and everything. I was sitting in the van, and I see the geezer that said it. And I thought, bollocks, I can't ring him now. He see me sitting in the van. So I sent a WhatsApp to the group, and I just said, listen, I've been told I could go back to work. Then the fucking top blokes called me in. Said there's been allegations made against me. I need to have another fucking DBS check done. Now, what's fucking someone said? So this went. So the QS put back like, I don't know what's going on, mate. Oh, it's a fucking joke, mate. Do you know what I mean? I've been suspended without fucking pay. So anyway, so nothing. The WhatsApp went completely dead. And the QS rang me up about 10 o'clock. He's like, fucking hell, mate, you've got to stop. You've got to stop the joke, mate. They're fucking all calling me up. They're all flapping like, well, what I said, was it? Oh, no. So, yeah, that was it. So
you turned the mirror on the pranksters?
Yeah, it was a lot funny. I was going to tell the story a lot better, but I'm a bit tired now. But, yeah, I think that was probably one of the best ones. Because to say, obviously, this happened to me. I don't know if I've told this story, but my wife watches these things on Facebook, the paedophile hunters.
Yeah.
And there was one right near my house. And she was like, look at this. And the geezer was someone I fucking worked with, Chippy. And he was chatting to 13-year-old girls.
I'd have it down as a plumber.
But shop fitter, actually. Put it down for that. Put it down for a shop fitter. But yeah, the geezer was my age. Had a bird, been with a bird 10 years. Didn't have kids, lucky probably. But you would not the sort of geezer you'd go like, is definitely. In fact, we used to work with a geezer we called a paedophile every single day. Sid, his name was.
Right, this is now becoming a private chat, and so if listeners and viewers, I do apologise for Rick going off on a tangent there. Do we have anything else?
There you go.
I'm good.
I'm going to
Spence.
One more thing.
Go on, mate.
The whole reason why I sort of gate crashed, to be honest.
So gate crash. You can't gate crash Monday Club. You're always welcome.
So the everyone's seen like Amendment 2. And this sort of thing come out for public comment. Probably the next one that's come out now, which I probably think is just as important for people to have a look at, is the BSI Flex 8670. And it's all about competence in the industry. And you all know what happened with Glenfell and everything. Yeah.
8790.
Yeah, 8670.
This should have been said at the beginning. Not after my story.
Right, so it's all about competency and it's about overarching framework for the competence of individuals as a specification. Yeah, so there's quite a lot going in there, and I'd really advise everyone to look through, particularly electrical guys looking at the electrical section and going through. I mean, it would be good to have a chat about some of the bits in there, but one of the things I really saw in there that really sort of bit me a little is in terms of, so we've got gas safe registered and gas safe and these sorts of things. It's not really mentioned very much in here in terms of being registered with these systems. However, there is some very specific wording about all electricians needing to be part of a competent person scheme or an enterprise, as they call it in here. So I really recommend people have a good look, good read, and put some comments in against this because it could have very far-reaching effects on the pockets of a lot of guys out there working out.
Where will we find this document?
Yeah, it's on the BSI website, the same place you go to for the draft for comment for Amendment 2. It's just you're looking for BSI Flex 8670. Really, have a good look at it.
I'll tell you what, I think we should have a. Do you know when that ends for public comment?
It looks like the 20th of October. It says, yeah, this draft must be not regarded or used as a published standard. This draft is not current beyond 20th of October 2020. So I'd assume that's when they're closing it.
I'll tell you what, I'll make some time this week, and maybe we can get a bit more of a discussion going on this next week.
Yeah, I'm in.
Once we've got a bit more information.
Subject.
And I'll tell you what, if it's as powerful as what Spence alluded to, we could really push this out there and get people commenting in, because competence is the buzzword. And while we're all the pessimist in me might think that they've pushed this one out at the same time as Amendment 2 just to keep eyes off it.
No, it's just the way it laid. Just the way it came out. These things go up. I mean, this all comes off the back of the various working groups and keeping pace with change working groups and things that be going with MHCLG. For Sam, that's part of a government little ring people that we talk about.
I think it's too tired. It didn't even click onto that one.
Oh, by the way, Fat Boy Bike Club, just so as you know, I've done 25 miles last week. Just so as you know, Fat Boy.
Is this going to be like Fat Dad gets fit again that just ends up being nothing?
No, it's just Fat Boy Bike Club. Anyone can.
He's moved out, isn't he? That McDonald's is a bit of a ride now.
Krispy Kreme is miles away.
He went there 5 times. That's why it's fucking 25 miles.
I'm not even getting into this.
Right, everyone, on that note, should we all say goodbye?
Good boy.
Bye.
Check it out later.
All
Bye,
right.
boys.
Bye.